Helsinki, Latvia.
Are you ready? Cheer up!
Let's start the show. Bonne chance à tous les participants. The Eurovision Song Contest 2003.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Niall Points. Today it is the return of Niall Points podcast. It's been a long time, but I'm excited to be back, aren't you?
Yeah, very excited.
This episode is part of the Eurovision Podcrawl that has been organised by ESC Insight. All of your favourite podcasters from Eurovision are taking part. We are looking at the first time a country hosted Eurovision. Already ESC Insight, the Wind Machine podcast and Eurowatt have all posted episodes with very different decades and feels and themes and very interesting to get into them. So do make sure you check them out. You can go to Linktree Eurovision Podcrawl. That's linktr.ee/Eurovision Podcrawl. The link will be in the episode description wherever you're listening or watching, whatever this is on YouTube and podcasts. So everything's everywhere. But we're really grateful to have been asked to take part. And yeah, we're trying to be a little bit smart today. We have done research. When I say we, I mean Thomas. But we have done research. So we do have some a bit of knowledge that we can try and give back to you. But we will be looking at Riga 2003, 22 years ago. It's horrible when you say it that way, isn't it?
Honestly,
I just saw your face.
I'm actually shocked to think about the fact, even though I know, but I'm actually shocked that it's 22 years ago. That's wild.
Okay, so if you missed Eurovision 2003, don't worry. We have packed all 26 songs into just over a minute for you. So here is what you missed. Okay, so some interesting tracks you may have heard a snippet of there. We will get into a lot of them. There's a lot to talk about. But let's look at the contest overall. So this contest was held on May the 24th in the Skonto Hall in Riga. Apparently had a max capacity of 6,500 at a time. This is back in the day when Eurovision was much, much smaller. We had 12,500 people, or up to 12,500 people in St. Jacob's Hall this year in Basel. Of course, some of the stage took some of that out, but yeah, we are. See, it's insane that even in the 22 years of between this contest and what we know now, it's grown so much still. What do you think we should go back to smaller a little bit?
I suppose it really depends on how the stage is built. Like, I was actually this week listening to a podcast episode of Wind Machine Podcast, who coincidentally are also joining the Podcrawl. You can already find their episode. And they were talking about Eurovision 2025 and the stage and the way that the arena was set up. And I just, like, in that sense, they were making points about the fact that you had the arena, you had the stage in the middle of the arena, and the people were sort of like seated around them, and some people really had bad views. And like you said, a lot of the capacity of the arena would have been would have gone because of the fact that you had a massive stage that was at the center of the arena. So in that sense, I don't really think that that's a great idea. But then Liverpool did a really good job, and that was quite a small arena as well, if I'm not mistaken. There were not a lot of people in that arena.
I think it was like 8 to 10,000, I think, if I remember correctly. But yeah, do we think it's the fact that it's getting big limits countries like Latvia from being able to really host if they were to win? You know, we're seeing in Austria there's only 2 official cities in the running.
Yeah.
And a lot of other cities had to bow out because they couldn't fit, 8,000 people in there. Do we need to rethink? This is obviously for television primarily. Do we need to rethink the live experience at all, do you think?
I mean, it's a bit double because you obviously have so many more people now interested in going to the contest live. I think Basel did a really good job in upgrading the live experience for so many fans by also using the arena next to it. I forgot what the name was called.
Arena Plus.
Arena Plus, where they broadcast the live show on a massive cube, like screen cube, whatever it was. So they really did a smart thing there. But you do have a lot of people interested in going. I'm not necessarily sad that we're going to smaller venues some years. I don't think it really changes anything, especially for viewers at home. But yeah, it could be a bit of an issue if people really want to go. Like, I went for the first time in 2024. It was a lifelong dream, and that was quite a big arena, which fit a lot of people in there. And tickets are hard to come by as it is. So I think a lot of people must have been disappointed this year that they couldn't get a ticket because of the fact that it was a smaller venue. But I don't know if we really... It also comes down to the fact that apart from Riga 2003, a lot of the recent contests have been in non-capital cities, so smaller cities, which logically, it's quite logical that you would then also have smaller venues.
Yeah. I personally think that we shouldn't hold too much of a barrier in terms of how many people in the audience can fit, If this one in Riga only had, 6,500, what's stopping, other places from doing that? And I would like to see more sort of smaller cities. We're quite thinking we're going back to Vienna. Obviously, we don't know, but that's the sort of assumption that's being made at the moment. But yeah, I really sort of also give us seats. Just make it all seating. Do bring that back. I'm old now. I can't stand for 4 hours.
But that limits it back, because if you have all seats, you would have much less people being able to get into the arena. So I don't know. And it's also, there's also the question of, can the city accommodate all, the thousands and thousands of fans going to the city to experience Eurovision? Because even there's a lot of people that don't necessarily go to the live shows or the rehearsal shows, but still go to the city to go to Euro Village or Euro Club or whatever, and you need to be able to accommodate them in the hotels and stuff like that. So I feel like a lot of people this year experienced problems with accommodation and had to sort of go outside of the city center or even into a different city or even across the border in some cases. Our friend Emma, I think, was across the border, which then makes it more difficult, especially at night after the shows, to get back to your hotel. So I think that also comes into play. And in that sense, Vienna is obviously the best option. It's capital city. They have enough accommodation for all those fans.
Yeah. So another tangent. Welcome back to Niall Points. We go on tangents here. Thomas, tell us more about Riga.
So I did a little research on Wikipedia. Riga is the capital and largest city of Latvia. It is home to 591,882 people. Thank you, Wikipedia, for that information. And it counts for a third of Latvia's entire population. The city lies on the Gulf of Riga at the mouth of the Daugava River, where it meets the Baltic Sea. It was founded in 1201 and is former Hanseatic League member. I had to look up what that meant. So the Hanseatic League was a medieval commercial and defensive network of merchant guilds and market towns in central northern Europe, which today would have been part of Germany, Poland, Netherlands, Belgium, Sweden, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, and Russia.
Well, that's huge.
It is huge. There was even obviously it was medieval times, so most of these countries didn't even exist back then. But it was mostly market towns around the North and Baltic Sea, which stretches out for quite a distance.
You can say that again.
The historical center of Riga is a UNESCO World Heritage Site noted for its Art Nouveau Jugendstil architecture, whatever that means, and 19th century wooden architecture. Riga was the European Capital of Culture in 2014, along with Umeå in Sweden, and hosted the 2006 NATO Summit and, of course, the Eurovision Song Contest 2003, among many other events.
Okay, and 2003 Eurovision, of course, hosted in Riga by LTV. Some facts Thomas has brought up. There will be more facts from Thomas.
Yes.
Don't you worry, there's plenty of facts coming from Thomas. The director of the contest was Sven Stojanovic. I feel like he gave me these names because he knows I can't pronounce anything.
I did it deliberately. Also, I can't pronounce them either.
Okay. Executive producer Brigitta Rosenbricka. That one's a bit easier. The design, we will talk about the hosts Marie and Renars in a little bit, but the design of this contest was built around the theme of magical rendezvous, which represented the meeting of the various European nations coming to Latvia and encountering Latvia's versatile landscapes. Oh, you've given me another name here. The logo was named Upes. Oops.
I think Upes probably. I don't know.
It's the Latvian word for river and carried the slogan, all rivers flow toward the sea, all songs flow toward the Eurovision Song Contest. That's quite poetic, isn't it?
That's a lovely... I read that and I was like, that's a lovely slogan. That is really, really good.
And it was the last time we had a non-standardized Eurovision logo. It was a year later that we got the famous heart that we all know, which rumors that might be changing for 2026 as well.
Changing completely or just altering a little bit? I don't know, because they've altered it before.
I've heard potentially fully new. So who knows?
Oh, the fans are going to go apeshit.
When do they not? When do they not? The stage was designed by Algiers. Oh, I hate you. Algiers Ozons. There's far too many different letters and consonants in there. It was based on the concept of planet Latvia. I can kind of see that actually. It's sort of like spaceshipy, very
sort of like the rings of Saturn.
Yes, a little bit tinfoily here and there. And the green room was placed directly behind the stage and unveiled during the voting after all contestants had finished, a bit like Malmö. But it is time for Thomas's fun facts, and there's so many of them that we've got a jingle. So just remember, fun is not guaranteed. Tomas's fun facts.
Sorry. That was going to make me laugh every single time. Okay, fun facts. For the first time, the scoreboard automatically rearranged itself in descending order as each point was awarded, making it easier for the audience and television viewers to follow the exact progress of the competitors throughout the voting process. It was also the first year where televoting was mandatory for each country, with a backup jury vote in case anything went wrong. We'll get back to that backup jury in a little while, which is another fun fact. The contest featured special guests that communicated with the hosts via satellite. Liz Asia, the first ever winner of the Eurovision Song Contest in 1956, greeted the hosts and spectators from Nicosia for some reason. Apparently, does she live there? Or
I feel like she had moved there.
Because that was very random. Anyway, Elton John also spoke to the presenters live from the Life Ball in Vienna.
Again, very, very random.
Very random. But, you know, if you can get a name like Elton John to feature in the contest, why would you not? Right? Anyway,
I mean, at least it wasn't a current day Madonna type performance.
No, I mean, they didn't let him. Overall, there were not really a lot of interval acts anyway. So it was quite a short contest.
I mean, the interval act that we got wasn't even really an interval act. It was a VT of people playing music.
Yeah.
There was reported money issues, and I think we can see some of that in this show. But anyway.
Yeah, because I've said anyway 2 times now. Anyway, 3rd time. We also had communication with an astronaut and a cosmonaut named Ed Lu and Yuri Malenchenko, who gave their greetings from the International Space Station. Also really, really random, but really, really cool. Like, we both chuckled when that came on.
I feel like I was still a little bit in shock that we'd just seen Elton John. I will say I love the fact that Austria made such a big deal of the Life Ball. That was like a big AIDS charity event. You know, 2003, stigma's still there. I mean, it's 2025, the stigma's still there. So doing that in 2003 to all of Europe, that's pretty cool. Progressive. Okay, right. Is it time to get into the hosts?
Let's get into the hosts.
Okay. He's given me another name, ladies and gentlemen. It's Maria Nomova Bulita. She was born on the 23rd of June, 1973, and is a Latvian singer. Under the stage name Mari N, she brings a broad range of music, ranging from pop to musical theatre and jazz. Oh, I wonder if she can be part of the Mimi Cat House of Jazz that we're creating.
We should check that out.
Yeah, she's recorded several albums with songs in Latvian, French, English, Russian, and Portuguese. She is the reason that we're in Riga for 2003. She won 2002's contest with the song I Wanna, and here's a little clip to jog your memory. Latvia, of course, debuted in Eurovision for the first time in 2000, and Marie was in every national final until she got selected.
Yeah.
First year, she came second behind Brainstorm in 2001. She was voted public favourite, but was not chosen by the expert jury, with a song called Hey Boy, Follow Me. And then, of course, she won with the song we just heard, I Wanna, and won the whole damn thing.
Exactly. And then, of course, we have Renars Kaupers, I think is how you pronounce the name. He was born on September.
Do you notice how Thomas gets the easy name?
Honestly, there's an A. There's an A with like a stripe on top, which is probably more difficult to pronounce than Maria Naumova Bulita. So, look, I tried to spare you in this time. You just, I can't help it if you can't speak. Anyway, Renars was born September 1st, 1974. He is a Latvian pop rock singer, instrumentalist, and songwriter who is the vocalist of the band Prata Vetra. According to Wikipedia, They are known internationally as Brainstorm, which took me a while to realize that Brainstorm won the 2000 Latvian national selection, in which Marie-Anne came second. And they actually came third on their debut in Eurovision 2000, which is impressive. He can speak at least 3 languages with fluency: English, Latvian, and Russian. He also hosted Congratulations, the Eurovision 50th anniversary concert in Copenhagen, Denmark, alongside Katrina Leskanich, aka Katrina and the Waves, the winner of the 1997 Eurovision Song Contest. Neil, what are your overall thoughts on our hosts?
These crazy cats and kittens, in the words of Carl Baskin. I swear to God, I was never sure what was coming next with them. They also didn't seem necessarily sure what was coming next, and I kind of love that energy. You know what I mean? I did like the fact that they tried something different. You know, they had, oh God, the outfits were something. But yeah, they clearly were trying to make it right. Clearly, some of the show had padding in it, and they were trying to make that work as well. Yeah, there was a lot they had to work with, but I feel like overall they did a pretty decent job. You know, like they were funny. Not always were we laughing with them, but they made us laugh.
Yeah, they definitely did.
And yeah, they sort of just kept going. And as you say, it is a short show, so they did manage to just keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, I have to say, I like that they kept it like clean and basic, which was of course not their doing. That's, you know, everything is scripted and stuff. But like, it was a short contest. There wasn't too much endless chatter, and I feel like the jokes that they had, some of them landed, some of them did not land. But then, as you say, that made us laugh anyway. There was this sort of chemistry between them that I don't necessarily always see between other hosts. It was awkward, but at the same time endearing.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if that awkwardness was an act or if they truly were just awkward with each other. Like the way some of the jokes were, I was like, this feels like they're trying to be awkward, but I can't fully tell. You know, does that make sense?
It does make sense, and it could have been, and it probably is due to the fact that a lot of the jokes were written in the sense of like they were trying to make fun of each other a little bit. Because a lot of the jokes were about the other hosts, you know? So that was, I thought it was clever. I thought it was fun. It
sort of
lighthearted.
seemed to be this sort of slight storyline that Renars had an unrequited love for Marie as well, to some degree.
Yeah.
It was something. But you know what? Overall good show. I find here's another thing. You know, we're only going back 22 years. Which sounds not a lot, but is a while ago. The look and feel of the contest is so different. Like, obviously, in terms of broadcasting technology, first of all.
Yeah.
If we watch Eurovision today, the colours are rich and vibrant and really real, dynamic. Whereas you look back at this and they're sort of a bit muted down, a little bit beigey looking. You know, like it almost doesn't feel like you're. You know, it reminds you that you are watching something instead of immersing you into it, which is insane. How technology has, and the fact you told us this is the first year that we had like an actual interactive scoreboard to some degree is absolutely insane. Like,
it's wild that it took until 2003 to do that.
But technology, man, isn't always great. And live broadcast, we struggled to get some jury spokespeople in, so still. So it's not.
I mean, technology really exploded. Like the endless possibilities of technology really exploded over the last 15 to 20 years. I'd say. I feel like that was the start of a whole sort of, I don't know, let's call it a renovation of the Eurovision Song Contest, and in the way that they use technology in the contest, not just with the scoreboard, but also postcards and stuff like that, on-screen visuals. But I feel like that one was quite groundbreaking because we still use that auto-generated scoreboard, you know, that regenerates itself with every point. We still use that to this day. So it's quite big that happened in 2003. And also the stage design, for me, felt like the first... Obviously, every stage in the past has had some sort of a theme connected to the home country. But I felt like that one was the first one that really felt like a massive, big stage with like a lot of possibilities, even though it was still quite static. But like, just like we said, like the sort of, I think they must have represented satellite rings, which were covered in tinfoil, as you said. That was sort of like a new concept for the Eurovision stage, and it only ever got bigger and better over the years. So it was really a groundbreaking year, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's almost like sort of the bedrock for the foundation for what Eurovision was to catapult into, from 2004 onwards. You do really see, the standardization of the brand look, the fact that, the audience sizes were getting bigger and bigger, the stages were getting bigger and bigger. It could possibly, a lot of it come back to this. Okay, so that was what was going to be a quick overview of the contest. Took a little bit longer, but should we get into the music?
Let's get into the songs, please, because there's a lot to go through in 2003.
Okay, let's go. Okay, so we are going to look at 6 of the 26 entries in a little bit more detail. We're going to do the winner, we're going to do last place, and we were going to choose one song each and randomly select another, but Thomas was about to throw a hissy fit because he couldn't choose just one, so we are just choosing 2 others each. So we randomly selected the order in which they're going, and we are starting with Sweden, one of my favorite countries, as we know, and they are represented by a very typical Swedish sounding song. It is Fame, it is Give Me Your Love. It came 5th overall with 107 points. But let's look into this. It obviously won the Melodifestivalen in 2003. Of course, Melodifestivalen is always used as a selection. Some interesting names that were also in that edition: Alcazar, Neder Wahlgren, and Sanna Nielsen were all in that edition of Melodifestivalen. But Fame won out. So let's, before we get further into it, have a little bit of a longer clip.
Give me your love, give me all of your love, I'm the one for you. Try to believe me, I just wanna be there by your side. Give me your love, give me all of your love when the morning comes.
Okay, so that was Fame, Give Me Your Love. Fame. Thomas has put was here, but I believe they still are a Swedish musical.
Well, wait for the fun fact.
Okay. I believe they still are a musical duo consisting of Jessica Andersson and Magnus Backlund. They met each other on the contest Fame Factory, which aired in autumn 2002. Magnus Backlund is a commercial pilot. After Eurovision, he did take part in Melodifestivalen again in 2006 with the song "The Name of Love." He made it through to the first semi-final to Andrew Chanson and reached the final, finishing in 5th, like he's used to from Eurovision. Jessica Andersson also took part in Melodifestivalen after 2003. A total of 6 times. She just keeps coming back.
Yeah.
2006.
I mean, a lot of them do in Melfest, don't they? They just love it so much.
How can you not? It's so fun. But we had Karen Nattar in 2006, Com in 2007, I Did It For Love in 2010, Can't Hurt Me Now in 2015, Party Voice in 2018, and Horizon in 2021. But, of course, she did not win the competition either of those times. Do we know about her best entry was? Did you look that up?
No, I mean, obviously their best entry was their winning song,
No,
Together.
but her single one. Her single.
I don't know. I didn't really look it up, and I can sort of like imagine it would probably not have been Horizon in 2021. I don't know.
Okay, Thomas didn't look it up, but it does have another fun
No.
fact for us, so let's get into it.
Yeah, this is
Tomasi's fun facts. Did you forget you had the jingle?
I forgot I had a jingle. I'm so sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, fun fact about the Swedish entry of 2003. Apparently, 20 years after their last single was released, they released a new song this year, and it's called Survivors.
Ooh, okay. Right. Let's talk about Give Me Your Love. Actually, I've got a fun fact as well. It's not actually that fun. So it's much like your fun facts. Of course, they did a little bit of their song in this year's Melody Festival and with Keo.
Oh, they did. Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. And I completely forgot that was them until that moment. But what did you think of them? So I'll start, but we're going to talk about what we thought overall about this. The reason I chose this, I love Swedish music, and this is just absolutely what I want. If I to put myself back in 2003, this is the sort of music that I would be shaking my gay little ass to. You know, it is fun. It is just their vocals as well are really, really strong.
Yeah.
Like I remember, like watching that back recently when we watched the contest together, and it was really good. I was surprised it didn't do. I know Fifth is really good, but I'm surprised it didn't do a little bit better considering some other countries that were in the contest this year. The
I
only
feel
Sorry,
go ahead.
I feel like the only sort of thing that I would mark this down for, but it's not necessary, that this has only been marked down in a 2025 mindset. It wasn't really something, when you watched Eurovision 2003, it's not something that's really done, but there wasn't a lot of choreo. It was a very staticky performance. There's tend to be stood in the exact same position. You know, there's no Charlotte Nielsen's backing dancers coming on or anything like that. It's quite static, which I don't think we would see a lot in the current version of the contest. There would be choreo, there would be hitting marks on different parts of the stage, etc.
Yeah, but I feel like that was quite normal for those
absolutely.
days in Eurovision, because the performances were more static anyway, because apart from having dancers and backing vocalists on stage, there wasn't really much that you could do. You didn't really have any LED backdrops. There was already in 2003 some sort of like floor projections and lighting and stuff like that, which was pretty cool in some of the performances, but it was quite a static contest overall. I don't think any song could ever sound more Swedish than Give Me Your Love. It just feels like, I feel like Sweden would send this again next year if they could, because it's just so typically Swedish. And it is, although it's dated now, of course, like you said, looking at it from a 2025 perspective, it just feels like very typical Swedish Schlager pop music that is just very popular. Everybody loves it. It's easy to sing along. The vocals, like you said, were great, but I'm also used to being the vocals being great from Sweden. Like, when have we ever had a Swedish singer on the Eurovision stage that couldn't sing? Or maybe it's just because their national selection is so huge that it only attracts the best artists in the game, and they usually know who to vote for. They usually pick the right song. So in that sense, it just feels completely normal. I would argue that a fifth place was a deserved place for Sweden that year. If we look at the top four, you had Norway in front of that. In fourth place, you could argue that maybe, depending on what genre you like best, that you could put Sweden above Norway. But I feel like fifth was definitely a good result for them. considering the field of songs that we had.
Yeah, fair. To be honest, I mixed up where Norway and Austria were in the rankings, so I thought Austria had beaten them for a little while. I got that the wrong way around. So that's where that comes from. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. Shall we move on?
Let's move on to the next country. Right, so the next country that we're going to visit is Russia. Like, we don't have Russia in the contest anymore for obvious reasons, but we had to dig in to Russia's entry for 2003 because there's a lot to digest here. Now, Russia
I'm
was
strapped in. I'm strapped in for the long game.
Honestly, I hope you are, because there's a lot of loopings and all that kind of stuff. We're going to Six Flags, so get ready.
Is that a phrase?
I don't know. It is in my head. Anyway, Russia was represented by a totally unknown little girl band called Tattoo. Spelled...
Never heard of them.
No, spelled small t dot large a dot large t dot small u dot. I have never understood why Tattoo was spelt that way. It feels very, very random. Have you ever...
Did you come up with an answer in your research?
No, I looked it up. I couldn't find anything on Wikipedia or anything. Anyway, it doesn't matter. They were selected internally by the broadcaster with their song Never ne boyja, which means don't believe, don't fear. It was performed 11th in the running order and was predicted by the bookmakers to be the favorite to win the contest along with Spain. Eventually, they came third with 164 points, just 3 points behind the winner Turkey. And they received 12 points from Croatia, Estonia, Latvia, Slovenia, and Ukraine. Now, this is interesting because these days it just feels unnatural to think that Ukraine would give any points to Russia, again, for obvious reasons. But back then, they were still quite chummy.
Besties. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, here's a clip. Oh, we just both said that at the same time. But yeah, here's a clip of Tattoo and Never ne boyja. Tattoo were a Russian pop duo consisting of Lena Katina and Yulia Volkova. See, I do give some names to myself as well to pronounce. The group had already had a string of hits nationally, but also internationally, having already released a studio album that went certified platinum in Europe and even gold in the United States. It even reached #1 in Japan, making it the first ever foreign album to do so. Now, we need to dive deeper into the controversy surrounding Russia, which is no new thing. It's not very shocking. But even in 2003, sometimes things didn't really go well with Russia. Now, several controversies surrounded Tattoo's participation. The duo gave an interview to a German tabloid Bild in March 2003, where they claimed that they would win the contest without a doubt, and criticized the German entrant Lou, which looked like such a lovely lady, honestly. They called her a witch, stating, "In Russia, we nurse the blind and old people, but we don't send them to the Grand Prix. This must be different in Germany." What?
But she's like, I'm sorry, how could you throw any shade at a slightly older lady saying about let's be happy and let's be gay? Come the fuck on.
Honestly, just that shocked me. I knew that there was controversy around Tattoo, but it did sort of fit into their image of being the bad girls, right?
Yes.
Because they were sort of like the baddies of pop music in their day. Like we said, they were immensely popular. Anyway, it didn't end there. Their first rehearsal didn't go as planned. The band were supposed to rehearse the day before, but turned up a day late, claiming that Yulia Volkova was suffering from a sore throat. Now, the bad behavior went so far that it even prompted the EBU to have a pre-recorded performance of the Russian entry ready to substitute during the live broadcast in case the duo performed a lesbian publicity stunt on stage, which they deemed inappropriate for a family entertainment show. Now, I want to just dig into that just for a second, it feels wild that 2003 would have still been a year where having any sort of gay content on the Eurovision stage would have been considered inappropriate, because these days it's become the biggest gay party in the world, let's be honest. So it's wild that would have been, and what would have been a lesbian stunt, because I did think, I don't know if I read this correctly, that they shared a kiss on stage during one of the rehearsals, so that was probably one of the reasons why they had that pre-recorded performance ready, but wild.
EBU, learn a lesson. Come on.
I mean, they did eventually, of course. We have had a lesbian kiss on stage. I think it was Krista Secrets who had, was it two backing singers that kissed on stage during Marry Me, was it? Or was it her and one of her backing singers?
Oh, yeah,
I
but
don't
that
know.
was that 2014, 2013?
Yeah. So they did,
Christ.
we have come a long way since 2003
Yeah.
is what I'm trying to say. In 2017, a book published by a writer called Chris West suggested that the group's selection to represent Russia in the contest was partly intended to counter accusations of Russian cultural conservatism.
Oh.
Makes sense.
Okay, right. Before we get into your fun fact, will we dive into our thoughts on this?
Yes, let's.
What a mess. What a mess. Now, it's not a bad song. It is not their best song, but it's not a bad song. But, you could tell rehearsals weren't good because the camera angles are terrible. They genuinely seem to not know what they're doing. The girl with the shorter hair seems to be dragging the girl with the ginger hair around the stage on a whim. Doesn't even seem planned. It's just like, oh, you're coming here now. I honestly have no idea what's going on in this performance. Neither do they. Neither do the producers. They're just like,
Yeah, at some point they walked onto the sort of like one of those rings of Saturn that we
rings.
call them. And the camera sort of panned after them, and it all seemed very unplanned. And I was like, was it really planned that they were going to do that? It really did feel like they just made it up as they went, and the EBU were sort of forced, or the camera people were just sort of forced to just follow them around. But yeah, it was a mess. However, I will say, Studio Cut, this is a brilliant song, and it is probably, I'm not surprised that it was the favorite to win, Tattoo being who they were at the time. But also the song was just so groundbreaking for 2003. I feel like you could release that song today, and in many ways it would still feel sort of fresh and current because it was so out there. And it reminds me, because they were the first thing that I thought of when Blanche released her single City Lights in 2017 for Belgium. It also just felt dark and moody and synth poppy, with the exception, of course, Blanche's vocals being very demure and serene, and their vocals being more high-pitched and loud, but very similar in style. So I feel like it is a very timeless song, in my opinion.
Yeah, I get, it's just, it's not on the same level as, the worldwide smash that All the Things She Said was. But do you remember how huge that was?
It was massive. And it honestly, it's still a song that I go back to every now and then and listen to it. Great, great, great song.
The only Eurovision act who I can think of who had a song as big as that before they competed in Eurovision is potentially the Rasmus from Finland.
Yeah.
In the Shadows was everywhere.
It was
Absolutely
everywhere. It was everywhere. Yeah. You could maybe say Hooverphonic, Mad About You.
I don't know if I know that song.
You would know it. It was, you would know it if you heard it. Anyway, we're not gonna insert a clip of that because we don't have the time. But let's get to the fun facts, shall we?
Tomasi's fun facts.
All right, I'm gonna get to this as quick as possible. Ireland used a backup jury vote on the night because of a delay in delivering the televote results in time. The Russian broadcaster complained about this to the EBU, stating that because of the small point difference between the top three, they could have won the contest. It was later debunked by the Irish broadcaster, who published the televote results, which showed that if the jury had not been used, Turkey would still have won, because Russia did not receive any points from the Irish televote. However, since Belgium only received 2 points from the Irish televote as opposed to 10 by the jury, Russia would have placed second. And another fun fact, the UK would still have received 0 points in total, even with the Irish televote. So,
Ireland letting down the UK. We love to see it. How does that make you feel that Belgium would have came third instead of their second place?
I mean, we're gonna discuss Belgium a little bit later, but it would still have been a monumental result for them, especially because it was quite unexpected. Nobody really expected them to do well. So, but I mean, it's fine. It's fine. And these things happen. And at the end of the day, this is the official result. They came second, and whether you like that or not, you have to accept it. It's not the first time that that's happened, and it's not the last time that that's going to happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, okay. Right. Feel like we need something to reset the mood. Let's see what we can find and move on to Austria. Okay, Austria. What can we say about Austria? So Austria was represented by Alf Poya and the song Will der Mensch schaut. I probably butchered that, so we will just call it Because People Count, which is the English translation of the song. It was performed in the deaf slot. I don't know if the deaf slot really existed at the time, but it was performed in the deaf slot. Second, he was selected for Austria's national final called Song 03, where a public vote split between male and female voters selected the song. Do we have any information on how that worked? Like, was it like literally, here's the male vote, here's the female? Was it like
I think
splitting
so.
the public and jury, splitting it? That is wild.
I think so, because the Wikipedia results of the national selection do show points from 1 to 10, and Alf Poyer got 10 votes or 10 points from both the male and the female vote. So they must have actually split it up, which is wild.
This is almost like next level shit. Like, I know Melfest have age groups. Age groups makes far more sense than splitting a whole species by gender. And even then, only having two, obviously
I mean,
that
it's
wouldn't
2003.
work. It's 2003.
2003.
Now that wouldn't work, but like,
Oh no.
whoa. That's still weird. Anyway, here's what we've been waiting for. Here is a clip of Will der Mensch schaut. Okay, so Alf Poyer was born on the 22nd of February 1967 and is an Austrian artist and stand-up comedian. In case you couldn't tell, he's funny too. He started doing cabaret in 1995 in the city of Graz and has somehow won several prizes for his work. I'm sorry, I'm being rude here. His result is considerably better than most of the pre-contest predictions. However, Poyer spent several hours telling anyone who would listen that his low placing 6 was an outrage, that Europe had shown itself to have no musical taste, and that he wasn't sure if he would be able to return to his country of Austria because of the shame that he had brought to them. Wow. First of all, let's talk about that a little bit. This has to be a jokey joke, right? He can't seriously be. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he is a stand-up comedian, so it kind of makes sense that he would come up with a song like this, I suppose.
Yeah, this song, I still don't fully understand this song. I was hoping that maybe we'd have more of. Was there much background on the actual song itself? Because like I
There was
have,
not a lot of information to be found on his participation in general. Like the information was quite scarce.
because let's be realistic. It was quite an interesting. It was quite an interesting performance. Even if you look at the backing, we had cardboard cutouts of several different people, things.
Yeah.
We then had two backing singers who looked the complete opposite of each other.
Yeah.
Like it felt everything about this performance, whether it be visually or musically, felt like someone had got a couple of hammers and smashed something together to make something. It wasn't all necessarily quite pretty and perfect, but it was a whole structure,
Yeah.
just with lots of different bits sticking out here and there. It was quite it was something. I don't quite have much more. Like, how do you even describe the shock of this? Sometimes,
For me, it was just organized chaos. And I feel like every now and then you have an entry like this at Eurovision where initially after the show you're like, how on earth did this score this high? Because it did come 6th overall with 101 points, which is quite big. But like afterwards, when you start thinking about it, it just sort of, this kind of stuff appeals to people. And again, I suppose it depends on what people are in the mood for. And sometimes people look at something like that and think, he's bonkers. Let's vote for this. And it was televote only. I mean, obviously, this would have been buried by the juries if there had still been juries that year. But yeah, I didn't hate this. And I remember one of my favorite moments of the Eurovision 2003 is it's actually a clip that I used to watch on YouTube many years later because I like to rewatch the voting of contests, especially with BBC commentary. And you guys had Terry Wogan for the UK, obviously. And
yeah.
I remember watching the voting without remembering what Austria's song was, but watching the voting, and each time Austria got a score, whether it was a small score or a high score, he would chuckle and say something along the lines of, they've all gone mad. And now I understand, having watched the contest again, I understand why he chuckled every time they got points, because we too laughed every single time. We were like, what in the world is happening? But in hindsight, it just makes sense. It was fun and it was different and it stood out. And for me, it was just, like I said, it was organized chaos. It just kind of worked in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been 100% killed by juries. Bosnia were using a jury, and they still gave us 5 points.
Yeah.
Ireland and Russia did blank them, but still, like,
Yeah.
this got 10 points from Iceland and Portugal as well. Like, honestly, this is one of the times where I'm like, I don't blame Terry Wogan for being a little bit upset, but I have found the English translation of the lyrics, and just found this one paragraph. Soon all birds will die, soon all beetles will die, only Adam is lying in bed and reproduces with Eve. What?
Still makes no sense. So there's really no point in looking up the lyrics because it's still... Look.
But whoever wants to know more about animals should study biology or connect to my homepage to find it out yourself.
Again, it makes no sense.
None of this makes sense, but I kind of love it for its craziness. Okay, shall we have some more fun facts? I can see there's a few. So shall we get into
There's
them?
a few. Yeah. Let's go.
Tomasi's fun facts.
It makes me laugh every single time. Okay. Austria was predicted by the bookmakers to come dead last, sitting at odds as low as 100 to 1. However, He gave them their best results since 1989, placing 6th with 101 points. They did not, however, receive any top marks. So he defied the odds, which I think is pretty cool. You know, how often does that happen, that a song that is last in the odds comes top 10 or almost top 5?
True. I mean, do you remember Kai were bottom odds when they were announced for Melody Festival?
They
Not
were.
as we got into the contest, but when they were
Yeah.
announced, that's still...
Yeah. I mean, let's not forget that bookmakers are also just fans who have a bit of money and vote. So they are clueless just as we are. So anyway, the next
Are you calling
fun
us
fact,
clueless?
I am. We are clueless, let's be honest.
Okay.
All right, the next fun fact. In 2005, Alf tried to represent Austria again with the song Good Old Europe is Dying, but finished second in the national competition. The song apparently sparked some controversy due to some apparent offensive lines, which I did not bother to look up for the sake of powering through this podcast.
So if you hear a clip now, we've looked it up and it's okay to play. If not, we've not bothered looking it up and we don't want to risk playing it just in case it is rude or offensive. We don't want to offend anyone here. And in the vein of not offending anyone, let's move on.
We have to talk about Belgium, my own home country. Belgium was represented by a band called Urban Trad with the song Sanomi. Belgium, of course, alternates between two broadcasters every 2 years because they like to make things complicated. Urban Trad were selected internally by RTBF, the Walloon broadcaster. The song was performed 22nd in the final and eventually came a close second behind Turkey with 165 points. They received 12 points from France, Poland, and Spain. Let's have a look at Sanomi by Urban Trad for Belgium. So Urban Trad is a Belgian folk music group consisting of both Flemish and French-speaking people and a close connection with Galicia for some reason. They've made music in several languages and combine modern pop music with traditional influences. The group is still active today and has had many members over the years, but due to the 6-person rule at Eurovision, they had to make a selection. At Eurovision, the vocals were performed by Veronica Codesal and Marie-Sophie Dalbot.
Okay, so we can have your first fun fact before we get into the overall, because I feel like we need to before we describe it. So here's your jingle one more time. Tomasi's fun facts.
We could not be any more chaotic than we are right now. Okay, fun fact number 1. Despite having 3 official languages in Belgium, as Terry Wogan said, the song was written entirely in an imaginary language, which was a first at Eurovision. Belgium tried to do this again in 2008, but were unsuccessful with Oyulisi Nayalini and stranded in the semi-final that year.
So, quick question, if you tried to do it twice, was it the same imaginary language?
I assume not, because it was a completely different band. It was not Urban Trad coming back. It was a different band coming back.
Fair.
Although it was quite similar in genre. It was also quite folky, but more silly.
I like silly. I spent a lot of this performance trying to figure out if there was genuinely any meaning. You know, and it's difficult when it's a fake language, an imaginary language. Does it have a meaning? Who knows?
No, and they later stated that they chose an imaginary language because they wanted people to basically put meaning to the song however they wanted. They wanted people to interpret the song in personal ways and not necessarily be like, oh, this is the message of our song and that's what you have to deal with. So that's basically the explanation of why they chose an imaginary language. But I will say, if it was a real language, it was beautiful. It really sounds like a beautiful language. I don't know what you would compare it to. And what I like about this, it wasn't gibberish. It's not like, like four or
Simlish.
five. Yeah, it's not like 4 or 5 consonants being repeated over and over and over again, which you do have in some songs that use some sort of imaginary language. It really did feel like an actual language. So if you didn't know, you would just think that it was just an official language here in Belgium, but it's not.
It's interesting because there's not too many words, so it's not even a full on language. It's just sort of constructed paragraphs, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's only a 3-minute song, so they're not going to invent a full-on language for a 3-minute song.
Why not? It feels like that feels like a job half done.
I mean, it just feels like a lot of work for a 3-minute performance, but whatever.
Okay, I really did like this song. I will say that it was a bit of a change of pace in the contest. I felt it was just like quite relaxing, quite moody in a way.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of some, Scottish folk songs and stuff like that, which are always very nice. And again, I don't understand them anyway because they're all in Gaelic. So it made me feel quite at home. I did really enjoy this.
Yeah, same. I have to say, because it was so unexpected, and again, I watched this contest for the first time live at some sort of like village festivities, and it was just so unexpected that they did so well. It's not like people didn't like the song or anything, but they just really, but that's very typical Belgian, where we always shit on our own songs and be like, oh, it's going to come last, and then we end up doing well and everybody's shocked. But yeah, it was so unexpected, and I really did like the fact that for once we sent something completely different, because it's not as if this traditional folky sound, and it does sound quite Gaelic in a way. We had the bagpipes and these other kind of instruments that we've never really heard of. It felt so untypically Belgian, which is and it felt very traditional, which is probably why I like it. I'm a sucker for traditional songs anyway. So this is one that I'm really, really proud of, not just because of its result, but just because it was so different. The vocals were great. The staging was simple but effective. The lighting was good. And it's a song that I still listen to quite a lot. I go back to it. It's quite close to entering my top 10, the ESC 250 top 10 that we do every year.
Yeah.
It's quite close, but I sometimes find it difficult to put it in and kick another one out. You know what I mean? Okay, so we already did the jingle for the fan facts. So we're not going to do it again, please.
Especially
But I
this
also
isn't a fun fact. This is a not so.
It is a not so fun fact. So it's quite serious. But I wanted to share this piece of information. A few months before the contest, the broadcaster actually dropped the original vocalist of the song, Soetkin Collier, on the advice of the Belgian security services, who claimed that she'd had extreme right sympathies in the past. Now, Collier vigorously denied these claims, and later that year, thankfully, after an investigation, it was concluded that the accusations were exaggerated and based on outdated information. But to this day, there still are 2 versions of the song that you can find, one with Soetkin vocals and one without her vocals.
Do they have... I assume they sound fairly similar, just with obviously different vocals.
Yeah, they are very similar. The music is pretty much the same. I think the main difference, apart from the vocals, is the fact that the version with Soetkin is a longer version. So they shortened it to a 3-minute version, obviously, for Eurovision. But I will say, I'm so used to Veronica, which was the girl with sleek, brown hair, and then you had the woman with the curly hair. But her vocals are so magical in this song. So in a sense, I'm kind of happy that she did the lead vocals instead of Soetkin. Or maybe it's just because we're used to it, hearing it that way, and it just doesn't feel the same. You know what I mean?
Doesn't feel the same. I get you.
Yeah.
Okay, so from one of the greats to... not so great. Let's go to last place. Let's move on to them. The United Kingdom. BBC held the national final called A Song for Europe, and they selected the duo known as Gemini and their song Cry Baby as the winner. Now, the song Cry Baby might be a little bit fitting for what obviously happened on the night. Okay, let's get into Gemini a little bit. So it performed 15th on the night of the final, and despite having been unusually hyped up by the broadcaster as much as possible, it finished with Niallpoints.
Yes.
It's one of the only songs. There's not a lot of songs that completely got Niallpoints, but was this the first one?
I assume not, because we had that point system for a long time before 2003. I'd have to look into that. But it certainly is one of the more memorable ones, especially coming from the UK, which up to that point had actually done really well over the years.
Right, let's just have a clip. Let's just rip the band-aid
Please.
off.
I know you're looking for something else. Not gonna settle for anything less. So bye bye, baby. You lied to me, baby. I must have been crazy, baby. Bye, try, baby. You lied to me, baby. Survive without you, baby. Baby, bye, baby. Bye, baby.
Okay, that was the United Kingdom, and while we were listening to that clip, we did look in a little bit more to Niallpoints, and no, Belgium were the first ever country to receive Niallpoints in 1962, and actually, Norway and Austria have scored Niallpoints 4 times. Wow.
Doesn't Norway also hold the record for the most last places in the history of the contest? I think that's Norway.
I think
read that
so.
somewhere.
I think so.
Yeah.
And of course, from 2016 onwards, it was deemed almost impossible to attain Niallpoints in the grand final due to the new voting system. But in spite of this, the UK went and done it in 2021 with Embers.
Oh, honestly, that song was not deserving of a 0-0. It wasn't.
I should have had a smattering
A
of
couple.
points.
Yeah.
A couple.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
So that was a clip from Cry Baby. Now we have to quote Wikipedia here because it's rather funny. Gemini were formerly known as Tri-City, and they are a British pop group, of course, from Liverpool, and they are best known for scoring Niallpoints and finishing in last place at the... Wait, I don't even understand why that's quite funny.
because that's what they're most known for. It's like, did you know what, when you go to Wikipedia and you have like the first paragraph, which is sort of like a brief description of who they are, and that's what they're most known for, coming last in the contest of the Eurovision with
Right,
Niallpoints.
okay.
Sorry, but that's harsh.
It is quite harsh. I apologise for not understanding the joke there. Apologies, Mr. Scriptwriter.
Maybe I just find it funnier than you two. That's just my thing.
Maybe. The group consists of Chris Comby and Gemma Abbey, born 10th of March 1981. For some reason, we don't know when Chris was born. Maybe he's lying about his age or hiding from the 40s. Who knows? They met in 1995 at Liverpool Starlight Stage School. That sounds cute. And toured Liverpool pubs and clubs with the Academy's Kids roadshows. At 16, after leaving college, they formed Tri-City, which was named after a brand of electrical appliances. What is this? This is wild. And they changed their name to Gemini. Gem and I. Oh, okay. I get
Mind
it.
blown. Did you know that's
I-
what it came from? Because her name is Gemma. Gem and I.
I don't think I could have told you that her name was Gemma before reading out the script.
But it still makes no sense then that they spell Gemini with a J and not a G.
Maybe there was some copyright issues.
Maybe.
So they changed their name at the age of 19. Okay, I'm going to make a confession. So obviously I was a child of CBBC, Children's BBC.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I watched. every day. And they did hype this song up. I remember seeing it on Blue Peter and all the Saturday shows and all the rest of it. And here's the thing. Let's just exclude the live performance for now. I liked this song at the age of 10. 9. I'd have been 9. I liked this song at the time. It had a hook. It had some fun dance moves. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Fast forward 22 years, I rewatched the performance with you. What the fuck was that?
It almost felt as chaotic as a Russian performance, but do you know, this one is
At least the Russian performance had okay vocals.
Well, parts of it, but it was questionable as well, in my opinion. But like, do you know, sometimes things are so bad that they become iconic, and I feel like this performance, they should still be proud of it, because it is one of those performances that always comes back up every single year at Eurovision. There is some sort of brief history of the contest, and there's always a clip of Gemini, and they're just iconic just for how wrong it went on the night of the final. I kind of feel bad for them in a way, because the vocals were not it, and the routine, the dance routine, was just not it either. But then at the same time, it's very early 2000s, and it kind of fits. And like you said, studio cut, this song is quite a bop. Like, it's easy to remember. It does have a hook, and it was just very typical early 2000s music that was popular back then.
Indeed. Also, just to point out that they were dressed as though they were going to perform 2 different songs.
Yeah, I remember that. Their outfits did not match. Nothing was thought through.
This was it was well, but you know what? Yeah, as you say, it's still a little iconic.
Yeah.
Oh, Tomasi's fun facts.
Ooh, here we go. It's an interesting one, guys. Gemma Abbey was arrested and sentenced for social security fraud in November 2016. She'd been claiming to be a single mother when she had actually undergone a wedding ceremony in the Algarve in 2013 and was living with her partner. She overclaimed tax credits for her daughter born in 2009. She was given a 30-week prison sentence, suspended for 1 year, and put on supervision order for a whole year.
Wild. Well, the Gemini money didn't take them very far.
You would know this. Did they actually have a career after Eurovision? Was there?
No. I don't think they had another song. Or not, at least that I heard. I feel like everyone just tried to put... It was like front page news, if I remember correctly, that they got no pois.
What I do find funny is that Terry Wogan, at the end of the voting, was actually outraged at the UK's last place when it felt like quite a natural consequence of that performance.
Terry Wogan claimed that the UK was suffering from post-Iraq backlash. They were immediately dropped by their record label, and their planned album was never released. They did end up in the UK singles charts at number 15.
Oh, okay.
And they later split. They reunited for a special interview about the performance in a 2-hour-long BBC Free special called How to Win Eurovision. Why would you interview Gemini on a show called How to Win Eurovision?
Because you need examples of how not to do it. That's why.
True. And in 2014, they took part in a Eurovision special of pointless celebrities. And I will say that if you put up a photo of Gemini individually, I probably wouldn't be able to get their names. So they maybe are the definition of pointless celebrities. Wow. That is their only single.
Oh, just again, harsh, very harsh. But we love them nonetheless, despite all the drama. But yeah, should we just move on? Should we
go
to the next song? It's time for the final song that we're going to dive into deeper. And of course, it has to be the winner of the Eurovision Song Contest 2003. It was Turkey. Turkey was represented by a sopranist called Sertab Erener and her song Every Way That I Can. TRT internally selected its entry for the contest, and it was the first time that the Turkish song was entirely performed in English, which I remember reading once. She was quite adamant about when she was asked to do Eurovision. She's like, I'm going to do it, but I want to sing it in English because she wanted to appeal to the masses, which kind of makes sense. And of course, these days, we're more prone to like songs in the national language. Probably because we had that many years of all English songs, and now we just love hearing national languages in the contest. But back then, it kind of does make sense. Now, she won the contest, and it is, of course, to this day, their first and only victory. They dropped out of the contest, I think, after 2012, I think was their last entry with the sort of boat song. Now, although Turkey was not among the bookies' favorites, they ended up winning the contest with 167 points, just 2 points ahead of Belgium and 3 points ahead of Russia, making it one of the closest votings in the contest's history. They received 4 sets of 12 points by Austria, Belgium, who shot themselves in the foot, Bosnia-Herzegovina, and the Netherlands. But before we dive deeper into Sertab herself, well, not literally, just... Not a euphemism. Let's listen to a clip of Sertab's performance. Sertab Erener, born December 4th, 1964, is a Turkish singer, songwriter, and composer from Istanbul. In some of her works, she combines Western music and Eastern music and benefited from operas as well as classical Turkish music with ethnic elements. Not unlike her Eurovision entry, very modern with Turkish influences. Now, her voice possesses a 3-octave vocal range. After scoring a big hit with her winning song, she released the follow-up single, Here I Am, which was sonically very similar to Every Way That I Can, and became another radio hit throughout Europe. In October 2005, she performed at the Congratulations 50 Years of the Eurovision Song Contest show to commemorate the Eurovision Song Contest's 50th anniversary. Her song ended up as the contest's 9th most popular entrant of its 50 years. I say robbed. It should have been top 5. It should have won the whole thing. But people who have followed us for a while know that this is my all-time favorite entry ever of the contest. She has, throughout her career, released 11 studio albums and 15 singles.
Is she
That's
still
quite impressive?
Is she still releasing?
She is. She's from what I could tell, her Wikipedia page, even in English, goes on and on and on and on. It doesn't stop. She's done a lot of work, and I think she's probably still very, very popular in Turkey. And I feel like, especially for an Eastern European country who came to the contest later on, having won it in 2003 probably catapulted her to stardom even more than she already was at the time, because she was born in, what was it, 1964?
Mm-hmm.
So she started a long time ago.
Yeah, true. I remember us being in Malmö and seeing Sertab take to the stage for the sing-along, and I just know that your head exploded.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, like I said, this is my all-time favorite song. Not to mention Helena Paparizou, my second all-time favorite song ever.
And Charlotte Pirelli, one of
I
your
led
other
Charlotte
favorites.
Pirelli. Yeah, on the same stage at the same time, right in front of our noses. My head did explode. I don't know how I got out of that arena. Honestly,
Because you tried to go in the wrong direction, and I had to
Yeah, I probably did. I tend to do that a lot. But yeah, overall thoughts on Setup Erinner and Every Way That I Can.
Right, studio cut I absolutely love, and it's absolutely a bop. But for me, something in this live performance, it doesn't quite fully live up to the studio. You know, there's a little bit of dodgy backing vocals.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't know, there was just something that obviously I'm so used to the studio version, so
Yeah.
used to it, and it just didn't feel quite the same. I don't know if it was something to do with the mixing, like even the dun, 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 didn't sound quite as in your face as it does with the studio. So I don't know
Yeah.
if something was going on there. I love that this is one of the few songs of the year that we had full on choreo going on. There was like a
Yeah.
full on idea of staging. In 2025, would this be considered as revolutionary staging? No, but at the time, kind of, yeah. Because, you know, we didn't get a lot of different stuff. We don't see a lot of ethnic type songs and moves and stuff like that. This was very refreshing as a performance overall. But yeah, this song is just an instant classic.
Yeah, it is. I think coming back to like you saying it didn't hit as hard live. I think definitely the backing vocals. There were some issues with the backing vocalists sounding sort of pitchy. I wouldn't say that they were bad necessarily, but they sounded a little pitchy.
It was
She
almost like
sounded great.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was like they weren't in the right harmony, in the right
Yeah.
area. Like,
No,
yeah.
I 100% agree with that, and I think that was talked about. Do you know what? Here's a little fun fact about myself. Don't do the jingle, but here's a little fun fact about myself. I remember going to school the week after, and we had music class, and our teacher talked about the Eurovision Song Contest, and he talked about the winner, and he said, "Great song," but there was discussion about whether the vocals were good or not, and because it just reminds me of that moment in school, because it was sort of like, is it supposed to sound this way? So there's definitely something dodgy going on there. But also, it is probably the song that year, and one of the songs in the history of the contest that was most affected by the crowd reaction. Because the crowd reaction was huge. Like before the performance starts, when it cuts to the arena, you hear the crowd getting really hyped up. Then the song starts. You can barely hear the song starting. Then the beat kicks in. The crowd erupts in cheers. So it was also midway through the performance when they did the belly dance choreo. Again, an eruption of the crowd. So I think that also may be a reason why the melody didn't hit as hard, because it was just drowned out a little bit by the noise of the crowd. But to me, that moment when the beat starts, it still gives me goosebumps. I could listen to that over and over again. I love it so much. And for me, it was just, the song in itself was just so groundbreaking at the time, and it really paved the way for a lot of ethnic bangers to come after her. You know, we had Ruslana the year after, ethnic banger. We had Elena Paparizou in 2005, ethnic banger. The same year, we had Luminita Angel for Romania, ethnic banger. We had Hadise, we had Eleftheria for Greece, we had Eleni Ferreira for Cyprus. All these ethnic bangers, I feel like, had a shot at Eurovision because that song was so popular and it became a hit throughout Europe. So it was quite odd for a song like that felt very traditional in a way to become such a big hit. So for me, this is for me a pivotal moment in the contest where we switched to a whole different direction in terms of genres of songs that we had. Because before that, I don't really remember as many ethnical songs like that. There were a few, but not loads. I feel like the late 2000s, 2004 until 2010 were full of these kind of songs. In Eurovision, I mean.
Yeah. No, and I think I said to you, I still don't remember what came first, and I know this was a cover, but there's also things in this song that are fairly reminiscent to Holly Vallancey's Kiss Kiss before she went full on weirdo.
Yes,
And stuff like that. Like it was something that was in the culture. It was in the
Yeah.
zeitgeist. This sort of sound. We had Shakira coming up and all the rest of it. So there was almost wasn't necessarily almost just Eurovision. It was almost as if culture had this sort of shift to
Yeah.
these more, non-white countries or in different cultures and different region, like all this sort of just almost branching out a little bit.
Yeah.
And seeing what was out there and enjoy it and realizing, something can sound different to everything else that we've ever heard before in our life.
Yeah. Now, the reason, I think I told you this back then as well when you mentioned Holly Valance, the reason why that song feels similar to Every Way That I Can is because Holly Valance's Kiss Kiss song was a cover of Tarkan's Shimarik, which was also known as the Kiss Kiss song, which was released in 1997. So
Right.
quite a few years before Sertab came to Eurovision. And of course, Tarkan is a Turkish singer, so it does have a lot of similarities sonically.
Yeah, and you know what? It works. And the idea of 2003, this was definitely a worthy winner.
Oh,
I
yeah.
want to ask you a couple of questions because we know this is your all-time favorite Eurovision song. What's it really cemented it for you?
I think it's just experiencing it live when I was a kid and just I think I've told you this before. My first ever contest was 1997, which also had an ethnical banger, which also came from Turkey, coincidentally, which was called Dinle. And I heard that song for the first time also on the night of the final. And I just fell in love with it. I don't know why. I think it's just the whistles and the drums, and it just speaks to me for some reason. So there was no doubt when Sertab came along that was going to be one of my and eventually my all-time favorite Eurovision song. So I think it's just that, and witnessing on the night of the final, hearing that music, hearing that traditional influence in the song. These are the kind of songs that I listen to the most.
Yeah.
And I already only listen to Eurovision music, or almost only to Eurovision music. So it's just, I don't know. I can't explain it. It's just, I love these kind of ethnical bangers.
And in the 22 years since, has anything come close to taking it off the top spot?
Apart from Helena, not really. There's a couple of, I will say Karia, which is obviously not an ethnical banger, but Karia did come quite close and was probably one of the few songs that catapulted itself into my top 5. Usually it takes a couple of years for me for songs to climb into my top 10. Hadise Dum Tek Tek, another great one that, wouldn't necessarily say comes close, but is very similar. And then also a song that I go back to a lot, Ruslana Wild Dances.
Are we allowed to talk on the podcast about your experience with Hadise?
Yeah. Okay. Very short.
Yes.
Very short. So I don't know what year it was. Would have been 2007 or 8. I don't remember. I'd have to look it up. I competed in the Belgian version of the X Factor, or let's say the Flemish version of the X Factor. And I didn't get far. I think it was about 15 or 16, so it must have been earlier. And she was very popular back then. She'd had a string of hits in Belgium and was the host of the show. And I remember doing an audition, one of the first auditions, which was held in Bruges. And they called, because you know how you have like the numbers, the contestant number. They called out contestants' numbers, and then you had to stand up and go to a separate room, and they interviewed you. And I got called out, and she interviewed me at the table that I was sitting at with my friends who were, who came along to support me. And we were playing games like Uno and stuff like that. And she came to me and she interviewed me for a few minutes.
Was she nice?
She was really, really lovely. In fact, she was actually praised by a lot of the contestants who then went on to the live shows, saying that she was very, very kind to them and sort of like played a role of a mentor for them as well. So she was very, very sweet. And I remember distinctly what she smelled like. She was wearing a perfume. I don't know what it was, but it was magnificent. And I was
Okay.
completely mesmerized. And I already loved her, and I loved her even more after that. So yeah, I did have a
Amazing.
brief chat with her.
If any of our listeners are sleuths on the internet, do try and find that clip for us. I've tried. I've went looking. I can't find anything.
Do you know what? I don't even know if it was actually broadcast. I don't remember if it was actually broadcast. It's a long time ago. But it could, I don't know, it could be there.
Yeah. What was the song you forgot the lyrics to?
Oh, that was another competition. I did Idols a few years later.
Oh,
And I had to sing Pack Up by Eliza Doolittle, which was appointed to me. I had to sing that song. Not that I didn't like the song, but my name starts with a W and then a U and a Y, and they went alphabetically. There were 100 contestants left, and I was the 100th to go on stage, and I was so stressed that I forgot the lyrics. And so they went, I just stood there. That was aired on TV. But
okay.
yeah.
Anyone find that clip? Please send it to me, neil@niallpoints.com. More than happy to see any recordings you have. I have gone looking. Okay, maybe one day we will see Thomas on the San Marino Song Contest. Oh,
Why not?
okay, we've got some final fun facts. Here we go. Tomasi's fun facts.
In 1999, we're still on Setup, by the way, in case you had forgotten. In 1999, she recorded a song with Ricky Martin, of all people, called Private Emotion. Two of her songs were used as international movie soundtracks. The song One More Cup of Coffee, a Bob Dylan cover, was used in Masked and Anonymous in July 2003, and her follow-up single to her winning Eurovision entry, Here I Am, was used in the South Korean 2003 film A Tale of Two Sisters. After her Eurovision win, Sertab received the State Medal of Distinguished Service, which is awarded to Turkish citizens, foreigners, and organizations for distinguished service in contribution to the emerge of the Turkish state. Quite impressive.
Very distinguished service.
Yes.
Indeed. Okay, so that was a quick roundup of, well, not so quick roundup.
Well,
of,
no.
There may have to be some editing in here of just 6 of the 26. Could you imagine if we tried to talk about all 26? The
Oh,
chaos.
no, it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked.
But we are going to play a very quick game. So let's get into this. Okay, so we're going to play a very quick game of play, skip, repeat. It's basically fuck, marry, kill, but for songs. So your options are, you can play the song, which means you can listen to it whenever it comes up on shuffle, blah, 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 blah. You can skip a song, which means I'm not interested, or you can put it on repeat, which it means it's one of those songs that you just would love to sit and listen to for ages and ages. So I'm going to guess how well this goes for Thomas. But here's your play, skip, repeat. We've used a wheel to put those 6 countries, those 6 songs together.
Yeah.
So play, skip, repeat. Russia, Sweden, or Turkey?
This is definitely a hard one because I really do like all 3 of the songs. The obvious one, of course, Turkey's on repeat. And then between Russia and Sweden, actually, it's not that hard. I'll do play for Russia because it's a song that I do go back to every now and then. And I'll skip Sweden, which slightly hurts because I do think it's a really good song. But, we have to play the game.
I have to play the game. And then I will do skip Russia, play Sweden, repeat Turkey. Come on. How can you not just want to listen to... How can you not just want to pretend that you are a belly dancer in the privacy of your own room listening to Sertab? Perfect
100%.
thing. And that leaves Austria, Belgium, and the United Kingdom. Please.
This is probably trickier. Repeat Belgium, 100%. And then it gets tricky. So Austria and the UK. Do you know what? I'm going to play the UK. Because Studio Cut, at least, it does have a hook. and it's kind of reminiscent. And I'm going to skip Austria because even though I enjoyed it, what the fuck?
I'm going to skip Austria because what the hell?
Yeah.
I'm going to play Belgium because I feel like it's one of those songs that I could only listen to every so often. I don't feel like it's one that I could sit and listen to a lot. So I will have to put the United Kingdom on repeat.
That's a choice.
I'm hoping that studio cut means that it's a bit easier. I'm not
Probably.
sitting on,
I mean,
I'm not sitting on YouTube watching that performance on repeat. Come on, don't make me do that.
exactly. And let me just say, if the studio cut is not better than the live, then honestly, why
Something
were they
went wrong.
selected at all?
Something went wrong.
Yeah.
We were going to cover some of the other acts. We are running out of time, but let's just give out some honourable mentions. One of my honourable mentions, we've already spoken about Lou. Let's be happy and let's be gay. What an
Germany.
absolute idol. Like,
Yeah.
oh, just light-hearted and fun.
Yeah.
And for me, also Romania. Romania was wild, odd. It had about 5 costume changes. One man who just sat on stage pretending to be a DJ. But it was actually kind of a banger at the same time.
Yeah.
So
No, kind of. It was less my thing, but I remember you liked it.
I can't even explain it. It wasn't even that good. I just enjoyed it.
Well, she came 10th, though. So
Do
she
you have
did-
any? Do you have any honourable mentions?
I do. This is going to shock people, but one of my honorable mentions is the Netherlands. I really liked that song. One More Night was robbed. It came 13th with only 45 points. I just thought that was a very cute, fun pop song. It was fantastically sung. I liked the performance. It was simple but effective, and it was very similar to the Swedish entry. So in that sense, I'm like, why did the Netherlands only come 13th and Sweden came 5th? Or maybe they just cancelled each other out, or one cancelled out the other.
Also, you've got Spain in here
Yeah.
as well. You were a big fan of Spain.
I was a big fan of Spain. I still am. I think it's a great song. And it was rumored to be the favorite along with Russia. So it didn't do as well as people expected. Still came 8th with 81 points. But I don't know. And that was a joint 8th with Iceland, which is another shout out. Iceland. Good song as well.
Oh, that was minor. And of course, we've got the debut of Ukraine with Hasta la Vista. Hasta la Vista, baby. Wild. Everything about that station was wild, but iconic, and obviously they came back a year later and won. In their second year of competing. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant country.
Wild.
We love Ukraine. Have we got anything else to talk about now? I mean,
I don't know. I kind of just want to do a shout out to Cyprus just because Stelios Konstantas. Honestly, I think that guy was Sakis Ruvas before Sakis Ruvas was Sakis Ruvas. It's just, maybe it's just the fact that he's Cypriot and Sakis is Greek, and it's just sort of like culturally they're very similar. But honestly, that guy was so cheesy, and that song was so cheesy, but I kind of enjoyed it in all of its cheesiness.
yeah, and it wasn't even like he was the best singer either. But it was still, I don't even know if you can call it singing, but it was enjoyable. It wasn't like bad. It just wasn't great, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Okay. Thoughts on Ireland? Did you have a thought on Ireland? It was a good song as well.
My brain has gone. Oh yeah, that was the
We've
Ronan
got
Keating guy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Came 11th.
Yeah, it was all right. It was quite charismatic looking.
Do you remember he got loads of cheers every single time he got a point? There must have been loads of Irish fans in Riga that night.
Cheap booze, they would have loved it. That's, one thing the Scots and the Irish definitely have in common: a love of cheap booze.
Do you remember the Irish lads on the boat, the boat tour that we did in Amsterdam?
Yes, and within 50 minutes they drank about 5 cans of beer each.
which was hilarious. And then the last 5 minutes, the lady, like the host on the boat, is like, "Oh, okay, so we're gonna go back to, we're gonna get off the boat in 5 minutes. So if anybody wants to order a drink, do it now, but you have to finish it before you step off the boat because we're going to the red light district and you're not allowed to drink there." And we were like, "Oh, let's not do another drink. We won't be able to finish it in 5 minutes." And all the Irish lads went, "Give us the beer!" And they just drank it in like 2-3 minutes. Quite funny.
They were iconic. Speaking of iconic, I want to finish up with a shout out to one of the most iconic people in 2003's Eurovision. The jury spokeswoman from Bosnia and Herzegovina. We're just going to put in the clip because it's too good.
Croatia, 5 points. Croatia, 5 points.
La Croatie, 5 points.
Romania, 7 points. I think,
Romania, that's right, Anna?
yeah, 7 points.
But 6 points.
Yeah, I think I made a little mistake. Croatia, 6 points.
Croatia.
Austria, 5 points.
Wait,
so,
wait.
please, Anna, I'm sorry, we have to start from the beginning. Sorry, we have to start it from the
Okay,
beginning.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So Sweden, 1 point.
Wait. We can't do it that quickly. Just wait for the scoreboard, okay?
Okay.
So, and here is the votes from Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Yeah. One big hello from Sarajevo. So Sweden, 1 point.
1 point to Sweden.
I love her. I love her. She's fantastic. She just has the right amount of sass. You can tell that it starts off a little bit like the crowd being like, oh no.
Yeah.
And then they just fall in love with her. Fantastic. That's how you make a mistake and move on with it. Fantastic.
Yep.
Okay, so that is it for our edition of the Eurovision Podcrawl. Thank you very much for joining us. This isn't the end of the podcast. We are going to be doing a brand new series. So we are going to be deep diving into Eurovision countries. So expect us to be talking more about Albania, Spain, all in depth, comparing some of their entries, seeing how they fared, and see if we can follow any trends. That will be coming very soon. Keep an eye out for that. And the next stop on the Podcrawl is 12 Points from America. So what do they have in store?
Hello, everybody. We are 12 Points from America, a group of friends who get together every once in a while to discuss everyone's favorite song contest from the other side of the pond, with trivia, news, and more than a little dash of irreverence.
And on the next stop in this summer's Podcrawl, you can join us as we discuss Belgium's first and only, so far, time hosting back in 1987.
So what do the Blues Brothers, Coca-Cola, and Milli Vanilli all have in common? I'll give you a hint. It's not cocaine.
Well, only one of them is currently in my fridge, so it's not that. I don't know. I guess we'll have to tune in and find out.
Break out the hairspray and check us out next week as we delve into the party in Brussels.
You can find us on all of the standard podcast providers, or just follow us on socials at 12 Points USA, and we will see you then.
So make sure you tune into that. Remember, you can follow everyone involved in the Podcrawl at linktr.ee/Eurovision Podcrawl. And go to niallpoints.com. You can subscribe to us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're watching or listening to us from. Thank you so much for joining us. We love you.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us. This has been so exciting. We were really excited to be able to do the Podcrawl, and we're in this with a lot of greats in the Eurovision fandom. So thank you so much for joining us. And like Neil said, go to niallpoints.com and make sure you keep an eye out for our new series, which we're also very excited about. Whoop whoop.
And we will see you next time.
Goodbye. Bye.